Hello, today we're going to go over Analyst training. Before we jump into the Analyst tool, I'm going to do a very quick PowerPoint presentation about MZ data, a little bit about MZ, and things to remember when using Analyst. After that, we're going to jump straight into the LMI tool, and I'll whiz around and show you the most used reports as well as other little helpful hints as well. So to begin with, I'm just going to go through a little bit of information about MZ, so who we are and what we do. We're a US-based company based in Moscow in Idaho, but we have a UK base in Basingstoke in the UK. We started off in 2000 doing economic impact studies. In 2003, we moved towards having the online platform that we're going to go through today. In 2008, we came up with Career Coach, which is an outward-facing, student-friendly, user-friendly, a little bit of a simpler version of Analyst, which is mainly used as a marketing or a careers advice and guidance tool. In 2012, we bought by Career Builder, who's our parent company, and earlier this year, we launched our job posting analytics, which we'll be going through today as well. Just a note about client services. So we have a full client services team who is here to help, basically. We do these webinars, we do self-help resources, we share best practice. We are always on hand if there is anything you need. So please don't hesitate to get in touch with a member of the team. So a couple of things about our data. So to begin with, I'm just going to go through a little bit of information about our data sources. So our data sources roughly equate to about 20 million data points. We mainly use government data as our core data. This is updated annually and kind of ranges from the census, which kind of comes out once in a blue moon or once every 10 years, to more readily updated data as well. This mainly looks at historic employment, and then we project forward as well. So we do start with this industry data. Excuse me. So we start with industry data and model outwards. As I said, this mainly comes from our government sources, but we factor in other data sources as well. So we can look at ONET data, which is an American data set that looks at skills and competencies related to a particular occupation, as well as job posting analytics, Equifax data, and other bits as well. So it's not all government sources. We also fix the suppressions. Now, all publicly available data sets are suppressed, especially at a low level for privacy and confidentiality. So part of what we've got to do is unsuppress that data and then look at it down at a local authority level. We also work out our own projections, so we project from the bottom up. We look at local authority level, we look at the most detailed information from industries, the most detailed information from occupations, and basically build from the ground up. We look at 3, 5, and 8 years into the future and model our trends, model our projections based on trends. So as you can see here, if you look at our historic data, it might be a little bit all over the place, a little bit higgledy-piggledy, as you'd expect data to be. Whereas if you look at our projected data, it'll always be in a smooth line or a curve. So the second point we're going to go over is granularity. Now in Analyst, you've got the ability to look at a country level, or you can go right down to a local authority level. You've got the range within Analyst. You can also build out local authorities. So say if you're a college and you're wanting to look at where your learners come from, you can start to build that out. Or say if you wanted to look at LEP regions, again, you've got the ability to pull that information together. Now, the reason we feel it's really important to go down to a local authority level is to be able to really understand what's happening at a local level. Now, if we use this example of call and contact centre occupations between 2009 and 2016, if we looked at Great Britain, we've got a 20% increase between this time frame. Whereas if we go down to the East Midlands, you can see there's actually been a 6% decrease. But if you go down to a local authority level and look at Derby, you can actually see there's been a 307% increase. So it's obviously really important to understand not only what's happening at a government office region or a county level, but right down to that local authority level as well. Now in Analyst, we've split off industries and occupations and sat these separately with separate reports. Now, it's really important to understand the differences between these two and which ones you're going to want to look at when you do go into Analyst and when you do start asking the system these questions. Now, industries look at businesses and occupations look at jobs. Now, a great example as to how this differs, is if you're looking at a nurse in a hospital. So, just as an example, nurses don't always work in hospitals. You know, they can work in temping agencies, they can work in care, they can work in education. It's not just hospitals that these nurses can work at. And same the other way around. It's not just going to be nurses that work in hospitals. It's going to be there's other temping staff. There's going to be finance. There's going to be receptionists. There's going to be porters. There's going to be cleaners. It's not just medical staff that work in hospitals. So the way that we've broken down this down in Analyst, so if you're looking at industries, if you're looking at, say, hospitals, this will be under Standard Industry Classification Codes, SIC codes, or SIC codes, as they're called. These are government codes that we've built into the system. So you can start looking at a 1-digit level, which will be quite a high level. The example we've used here is just manufacturing, so this looks at all of manufacturing. So you can break this down into a 2-digit, a 3-digit, and a 4-digit level. Now this 4-digit level goes into a lot of detail. So as an example, this could be the process and preserving of meat. Now if we look at how this is broken down, this is the exact example. You can see that you can start to look at a high level or you can go right down to that low level information. We'll run through this when we go into Analyst as well, but this is just to give you an idea that SIC and SOC codes are sort of broken down into varying degrees in Analyst. SOC codes also work in the exact same way. So it's not a new system for occupations compared to industries. Again, if you're wanting to look at sort of a high level occupation information, you can look at skilled trades. And if you could go right down to a 4-digit level, you can look at bricklayers and masons. The only difference between the industries and the occupations is that industries are SIC codes and occupations are SOC codes. So again, if we're looking at skilled trades, you can see how this is broken down, and again, how you can start to get to that granular information. So what I'm going to do now is jump straight into Analyst and start jumping straight into the tool. Before I go into the reports though, I just wanted to show you a little bit of information about how you can ask us and get in touch with client services if you need to. In the bottom right hand corner, we've got a chat function, which works exactly like a Facebook chat. All you've got to do is start a new conversation and part of our one of our client services team will be there to help. If you want to go it alone though, we've got knowledge base, which you can click at in the top right hand corner here. It'll take you to a separate site. But as you'll be able to see, we've got tutorial videos, we've got how-to guides, we've got way more information about our data in case anything I went over today was a little bit unclear or you're wanting more information. We've got a glossary, we've got information about other reports that you can start to pull. So chances are there will be something in there that will be able to help, but if not, please don't hesitate to get in contact with us. So if anybody watching this or on this webinar has been into Analyst recently, you'll see that we've had a little bit of a facelift and a little bit of a change. We've just updated a couple of points, which I'll just very quickly go over. Instead of the old home page, you'll now see that all of our information is down the side, so our menu is down the side if you like. And we've also added a My Reports function. This is very simply, if there are certain reports that you know you go into quite a lot and you want a really easy way to do it, all you've got to do is just hover over them and you'll see it says Add to My Reports. And you'll see it will go into My Reports, and this will be your home page. Your home page will just be the reports that you go into the most. This should save you time and should save you a lot more energy in the future. But again, feel free to have a play around if you are wanting more information. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to go over industries first. We're going to go over a couple of the reports in the industries tab. And then we're going to go over a few reports in the occupations tab. And then we're probably going to very quickly touch on job postings at the end as well. I wasn't going to touch on demographics because they are fairly self-explanatory, but if anybody has any questions, feel free to get in touch. You might also notice in your system, you might have a few more drop downs in the menu as well. It just means that we're not going over these today. So again, you can probably find a video or ask us more information if you do have any questions. And likewise, not everyone will have job posting analytics in their analyst system. But again, if you're wanting more information about job postings, feel free to get in touch. For the time being, I'm going to start in industries. Now, if you haven't used Analyst before, or you haven't used this type of data before, don't be overwhelmed by the fact that there are quite a lot of reports in here. It's all the exact same information, just packaged in a slightly different way or shown in a slightly different way. That's all it is. Now, the first report we're going to go over is right at the bottom and sits kind of on its own. It's a regional overview report, or what we call the economy overview. So if I click on here, as you'll see, before we go into the report, it's telling us to select a region. Now, this is a region that we went over before, so I'm just going to click on clear here. Now, say if I knew what I wanted to have a look at, so I'm at our offices in Basingstoke, so I can type in Basingstoke and it'll start to make suggestions as to what regions I mean. If I'm still not 100% sure, I can just click on Browse, and again, it'll suggest those regions that I can start to click on and click off. And we've also got the radius from address function. Now, this function works off of Google Maps. So again, if I want to type in Basingstoke, it'll pinpoint that on the map, and then I can change my radius to roughly 20 miles. All I've got to do then is just click on whether I want to select counties or whether I want to select local authorities. Because we want to look at granular data, I've just selected local authorities. And as you can see, it's highlighted all of the local authorities that sit within a 20-mile radius around Basingstoke. Now, because this is an interactive map, you can see that if you zoom in a little bit, you'll be able to start to see these outlines. And what you can do is start to click on and off these regions to start to add and remove them. Again, this is just a really easy way to start to have an interactive map. Most people are visual people, so it's a lot easier to pull out your regions on a map than maybe in a list. But again, have a play around and see how you get on. For the time being, I'm going to keep these very odd 15 local authorities as my region. And as you'll see, they will follow us around the system until we change them. So for the time of the being, I'm just going to click Run. Now, before we jump into this report, I'm just going to keep an eye on our information down the side here. So we've got our 15 local authorities that we've just selected. And we've also got the ability to change our time frame. So we can look from 2003 up until 2016 just in this report. But in all the other reports, you can look at projections up until 2024. Now, the reason we can look at 2016 in this report is because that's the last full year of data that we've got. So obviously 2017 isn't over yet. But when it is, we'll be updating that data. We also have information on the class of workers, so we've got information on employees and proprietors. Now, proprietors are the self-employed who are PAYE or VAT registered. Now, again, before we very quickly go into this data, if you are wanting to export this data, all you've got to do is just click on Export at the top, and you can click on various ways to do that. Or if you're wanting to build out a custom report, we've made a really easy way for you to basically pull that custom information together. So say if I just wanted this snippet of information, all I've got to do is just click on the scissors. Same if I just wanted the regional trends graph, all I've got to do is just click on these scissors, and it'll just pull those two bits of information into my clippings at the bottom. And again, I can just pick on a different format, and I can export it from there. Now, this is a really easy way to create that custom report that I was talking about. So if you want to whiz through Analyst and whiz through all the different reports, you can just clip your way through the system, and then at the end, once you've finished, you can just export all the information that you've put into clippings. So as we go through the system, you'll see that there might be these blue indicators here. That basically just means that you can click on it and it will provide you with a little bit more information, or you can jump to a separate report. So as I said, Analyst is really interactive, and it should be really easy for you to jump into another report or find out more information. So because we're looking at our 15 local authorities, we've just got a little bit of overview information. We've got our regional trends graph, which you'll see in lots of other different reports, but it basically means that we can start to compare the region that we're looking at to other regions as well. And again, if you click on this graph, it will provide you with the data behind that. So if I scroll down a little bit, you can see there's information about business size. We have a bit of information on growing and declining occupations and growing and declining industries as well. Because this is an overview, it's just a snippet of information, but we have got full reports that go into this in lots more detail if you do want it. We have some demographic information, and we also have Equifax data at the bottom. Now, Equifax is obviously a separate company to MZ, so this is just an additional data set that we've thrown in. So this is looking at business data. So with this report, you'll get you'll get five top regional businesses in that information. So that data is taken from Companies House, and as I said, it's Equifax data, not MZ's. So if I scroll up to the top, I've had a very quick overview on that report, but I'm going to jump back to the industries and start digging into our data. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump straight into an industry table. But as I said, Analyst is really interactive, so we're going to jump from an industry table to an industry overview. So I'll show you how you can jump around those particular reports. Now, before we go into the table, we'll have to just select the data that we want to see. You can look at all the industries available, or you can start to limit by industry. So again, within Analyst, if you just want to start typing, it'll automatically make some suggestions, or you've got the ability to browse as well. So what I'm going to do now is just click on all available so we can look at all our industries. As I said, our region will follow us around. And for the time being, I'm just going to click run. Now, as we were looking at our previous report, we're looking into past data, but I'm going to change this to look at a projection. So look at 2016 to 2020. As you can see, Analyst will automatically update whenever you make edits to the data that you want to see. As I said before, the industry data is in the system under SIC codes. So there's a standard industry classification codes. Basically, if it's an I, that'll be industry. If it's an O, so it says SOC, that'll be occupation. It's a really easy way to remember it. And as I said before, if you're wanting to look at quite a high level, you can look at a 1-digit, or you can start to break down these 1-digit industries again into the different types of industries. So here we're looking at manufacturing. We can break this down into the different types of manufacturing. So food, beverages, textiles, paper, etc., etc. And we can break this down even further. So different types of food, dairy, vegetables, meat, etc. And again, break this down one level more into a 4-digit code. So meat, poultry, and production of meat and poultry. So again, it just gives you the ability to choose what level you want to look at. But for the time being, I'm just going to look at all 4-digit industries. So all of the most detailed information that we have. Now, in our table, if you're wanting to sort these columns, all you've got to do is just click on the top, and Analyst will automatically change those for you. You've also got the ability to add and remove columns just by clicking on this button. And again, you can start to select the information that you want to see in your table. So once you've got that information, if you're wanting, again, more information about, say, wireless telecommunication activities, what you can do is highlight this as yellow, and then you can jump to another report. So as I said before, we're going to jump to an overview, but you can jump to another report that, again, will provide you with a little bit more information about any particular industry you're wanting information on. So obviously, if we're looking at our 15 local authorities, we're now just looking at wireless telecommunication activities. So you can see there's nearly 10,000 jobs, and it's due to grow in the next few years as well, and paying slightly more than the national averages that we see underneath. If I scroll down a little bit, you can see that our region is obviously due to grow quite a lot more than all the other regions we've got. But again, you can edit this information just by clicking these X's down the side, and then you can type them in at the bottom. We have information here on a staffing pattern report, which I'll jump back to in a second. We've got a little bit of demographic information. We have a little bit of information from our input-output model that's looking at imports and exports. And again, we've got this Equifax data at the bottom, so we've got our third-party data set looking at business data. Now I'm going to jump back to this staffing patterns report that I touched on earlier. Now, obviously, we're looking at a particular industry, so we're looking at wireless telecommunications as an industry. What this staffing patterns report does is detail what occupations are employed by this industry, so what jobs are in this industry. So I'm going to click on that button that just said jump to staffing pattern report. And again, we're looking at 4 digits as it details here, and we're now looking at SOC, which is occupation. So we've got our industry here and our occupation information here. Now, as I said before, when I looked at my example of the nurse in a hospital, we are looking at wireless telecommunications, so it's not just going to be telecommunication engineers. You can see the second highest employed in the industry is sales and accounts. If we go down, there's customer service, there's call centres, and again, you can start to see that it's not just your most thought of occupations. There's absolutely everybody listed in here. And it will basically order it by the number employed in the industry. And again, you can change this to look at the percentages as well. Now, before I get ahead of myself too much, I'm going to jump back to the industry homepage. So as you can see, we started off in the industry table. We jumped to an industry overview, and then if I scroll down a little, we actually jumped from an overview over here to a staffing pattern report. Now, you don't have to do that the way that I did it. You can go straight into any of those reports if you want to. Again, I'm just showing you how interactive Analyst can be. So now that we've had a look at industries, I'm going to go to occupations. So just click on that one. And as you'll see, it's pretty much the exact same reports we've already seen. So they'll be in very similar layouts. There might be a couple of differences that I'll go over as well. So obviously we looked at an industry table. We're now going to look at an occupation table. And similarly that we looked at before, all you've got to do is just select which occupations you want to look at and which regions you want to have a look at as well. If I click on limit by occupations, it works in the exact same way. I can click on browse, or I can start typing in my search box as well. But for the time being, as I did before, I'm going to click on all available. Now, again, as I said before, our SOC codes work in the exact same way. So now that it says SOC, it's occupations. And these work at a 1-digit level. And again, I'm going to break these down. So look at a 2-digit level. So all these professional occupations all fall under a 2-digit code. And we'll break down health professionals. And again, you can see that there's a lot more detailed information about those particular health professionals that fall under professional occupations. If you have any questions about the SOC codes or the SIC codes, again, please make sure to get in contact with us and we'll see what we can do to help. So I'm going to click on 4-digit and again, look at all that detailed information about those particular occupations. And again, I can start to edit my table to start to reorder it. Now, there's a difference between the industries and the occupations by including this column here. Now, as I quickly go through, you'll see that this column looks at the number of jobs that there were in 2016, the number of jobs there are predicted to be in 2020, and obviously the change between these numbers, whether it's due to grow or decline. We've got that number as a percentage, and we also have the annual openings. Now, annual openings is a little bit better if you're wanting to look at demand. So obviously this number here is looking at growth or decline. Annual openings includes this number, but also looks at churn, so death, retirement, and the natural turnover of staff. So what demand will there probably be for that particular occupation? But it also includes that growth as well. So it's a little bit better if you're just wanting to look at demand, and this number here is a little bit better if you're just wanting to look at growth or decline. You do have the ability, again, to add and remove columns, so feel free to have a bit of a play around. Same, you can filter out this data, so say if you just wanted to have a look at everybody above 10,000 jobs, you've got the ability to do that. For the time being, what I'm going to do is just click on this particular occupation and jump to the overview report like we did with our industries. So again, this will provide you just with a little bit of information or a little bit more information about care workers and home carers as an occupation. So here it says that we've got roughly 22,000 jobs, a little bit below the national average due to grow the same as the national average, but paying slightly more than the national average as well. We've got our graphs that we've seen before, so we've got our regional trends graph, and we've got a bit of a regional breakdown as well. So because we're looking at so many local authorities, it'll basically just detail those in a little bit more information. We also have a snippet of job postings information as well, which I'll touch on later. We have some demographics information, and we also have some information from Job Centre Plus claimant counts. So these are the number of people who previously signed onto the Job Centre who had their occupation as the one that we're looking at. And right at the bottom here, we've got our inverse staffing pattern. Now this is pretty much the same report that we saw before, it's just the flip side of the coin. So if we are looking at this occupation, we are going to be looking at what industries are employing that particular occupation. So again, just click on jump to inverse staffing pattern in the top corner. And this will provide a little bit more detail as to where these care workers are employed. I'm going to break this down to a 4-digit level just so it gives us that detail. So as you can see here, we're now looking at SIC, which is looking at those industries, and you can start to see where they are employed. And again, the breakdown of what this means for the industry and what this means for that occupation as well. So if I jump back to occupations, you can see again, we've gone from the table to the overview and to inverse staffing patterns as well. Now, I hope that all makes sense because we've looked at the industries and we've looked at the occupations. As you can see, they're very, very similar reports. But now we're going to have a very quick look at the job postings data. So if I click on this one. Now, we have partnered with our sister company, TextKernel, to basically pull all of the job postings information. So what we've done is basically pull all of the job adverts online in the whole of the UK and basically gone through those job postings and pulled out all of the good bits of information that we can start to put around those analytics. Now, as I quickly whiz through that system, all I've done is our region has followed us around, so now we're just looking at our job postings for our region. We can break this down further, which I will do a little bit later on as well. So if I just have a look at our time frame from the bottom, we can look from April 2017 to May 2017. So what I'm going to do is just look from April to September. So if I go up to the top here, you can see there's been 184,000 unique postings. Now, if you're a company wanting to put some job postings online, you're not just going to put them on the one job site. You'll probably put them on 5, 10, maybe even more. So what we've done in partnership with TextKernel is deduplicate that number. So rather than counting that as 6 different job postings, we've worked out that that's actually just the one. So this is the unique posting number. So this is the deduplicated number. So if I scroll down a little bit, again, you can provide a little bit more information about which local authorities we're getting those job postings from. We can dive in and see a little bit more information to see that raw data that we've pulled the analytics behind. We've got a bit of information about our posting trends. We can also see who is hiring. So if there is a particular employer that we can start to see is trending quite highly. So if I scroll down a little bit, you can see that we've also got the top cities posted as well. Now we've also matched each job posting to a SOC code. So again, you can search by SOC code, or what we've done is broken that even further and gone to a job title. So we've matched a job title to each of the postings as well. So this breaks it down to a little bit more information about behind those SOC codes. So if I scroll down a little, you'll see that we've also pulled out those particular skills that you'll find in that job posting as well. So what are your region's in-demand skills? So we're looking at hard skills at the top here, and we've got common skills or soft skills at the bottom here as well. Now what I'm going to do is just scroll up to the top very quickly, and what I can do is break this up even further. So say if I wanted to look at software developers, there we go. In that particular local authority, and I can go back all the way to January 2016. There we go. So you'll see there's nearly 20,000 postings. Again, we've got all this information that's looking at it by local authority, pulling on those job postings that we've chopped and changed. We've got our unique posting trend, and we've got a bit of information about who's hiring as well. Our top cities again. And because we're just looking at the one SOC code, which I'm searching by, you'll see that we can also break this down by particular job titles. So if you're looking at software developers, what type of software developers are most in demand? And we've also got in-demand skills as well. So obviously our most in-demand skill is C#, which is programming language, sorry. And you can also see which other skills and just as an example here, which programming languages are in demand. Now, obviously, because we're looking at those particular local authorities, these skills will be different than if you were looking in Scotland, or if you were looking in Wales, or if you're looking in London. Obviously, these skills are unique to your particular region as well. And we also have our more common skills as well. So if I scroll back up to the top, I'm just going to jump back to the postings. You can see we've got a couple of other reports. Now I've just touched on the job posting analytics here, so I hope that makes sense. But again, if you do have any more questions about adding job posting analytics to your data set, feel free to get in touch. And again, we can always answer any questions that you have. Now that's it. That was all I was going to go through very, very quickly. I hope I've answered some of the questions that you guys might have had, but if there is anything, then again, please do get in touch. So please use the chat function at the bottom. Feel free to get in touch with anybody from client services, your account manager, or feel free to check out Knowledge Base, which again sits on our separate platform as well. If there are no questions, then thank you very much for attending. We've recorded the webinar, so we will be sharing that. And again, thank you for attending, and I hope to speak to everybody soon.